all my
We'll.
Well, you got to also, you're not going to be able to blame me anymore.
We're all alone. Like a team.
Cool, guys. We'll take some questions from Steven and Leighton and then see if anyone on Zoom has anything after that. Over to Steve.
That's odd.
Not often we have the same number.
That's odd for a game of this size and import.
Dobbo, Ruben van Leeuwen is directly Kapkar.
Yeah. Yeah. We knew that from when we signed him. So he, initially came on loan, but even before we took him on loan, he was always cup tied because he played for the against the Bulls and Cust. Then obviously we've signed him long term now, which is brilliant. But no, he couldn't play Heineken Cup.
It was a short-term contract, wasn't a loan.
No, it was a short-term contract. Yeah. Sorry, a big one. My Mike's right. It was never loan. It was short-term and it became a long-term.
Okay, so is there any stage down the line that you're able to play
In the Heineken Cup?
Yeah.
No, not this season. There are exceptions around South African contracts that are ending in December, because of the traditional contracting cycle, and exceptions around clubs in financial distress like the Wasps and Worcester. He could have come back, you know what I mean? If he'd left a Wasps, he could have, but he doesn't fall into either of those categories. So.
And is that, do you feel that's a big setback for this weekend?
No. I think he's been playing exceptionally. But I mean, Ernst van Rijn is probably one of our most underrated players. The difference is probably they're very, very similar. And, with Gary Porter coming onto the bench, if he does, the team will be announced on Friday, it does take a little bit of pressure off playing Marvin into because of the lineouts into the deep, So, like, Ruben's brilliant, but for this game, it isn't in the context of what Ernst is going to bring. I don't think it's a big blow, and we knew about it.
In the context of your season, I suppose one can look at what you've achieved this year already and in a way see it as a success because, you have got that South African Shield, which is a big achievement in itself. But for you guys on a personal level, in terms of your perceptions of season success, how important is it to win this game?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant question, Steve. I'm not being sycophantic because I was thinking about it a lot this morning because I was thinking what I said to you guys. And one of the things I was going to say, I think this season has been probably in terms of something exceeded last season for us in terms of building the depth and establishing that we are a proper force in the URC. And to be lying second, I mean, last year we won the South African Shield in the last minute with Ruan's try in the last league game in Vlechli. As we sit here today, we're 18 points clear in the South African Shield. I mean, that is something to be really proud of. I think, the chances are, and it's been pointed out by other people, we could win nothing trophy-wise. I mean, that is the reality. That is just how it is. But I would think that this season would be has already been a success, but somebody's going to say that's defeatist. The key missing piece will be this Saturday. Because this Saturday takes you from top 16 of Europe. I know we finished third in our pool, and that's top 6, but this puts you in the top 8 with some, it's going to be with the Saracens, the La Rochelles, the Toulouses, depending on those results, of course, So this would be, to get into a European quarterfinal in our first year would be, and the sort of depth and the South African Shield stuff would make it a really successful season. So that's why I said that is very important for us.
Even the mindset of so many knockout games, what mental challenges would that pose for the players? Because I mean, you've got to get yourself already almost in a finals mindset, and possibly, if you're lucky, a lot more this season. So the mental challenges of that.
No, 100%. I think it's probably like the first time a South African club or Southern Hemisphere club has experienced something like that. But preparing yourself mentally for a sharp end of a URC last year was similar to what we've been doing our whole rugby career, like building up through the pool stages and then going into a quarterfinal semi. But now there's 2 different competitions where you're going to play knockout rugby, then go back to round robin rugby. Then you're going to go into knockouts again. So I think the mental approach must be like, especially for the next couple of months, it's every game is do or die. Like you you're fighting for your life. And for us as a union, we want to be at that top table, as Dobby mentioned earlier. So we want to find ourselves in the top 8 of European, and then hopefully take it further as far as we can. And then for same for the URC is get as far as we possibly can in that competition as well. So it is every weekend is going to be massive, and even like the pool games is going to be similar for us to keep our spot that's the second spot on the URC log to secure home quarter and then hopefully home semi.
Difficult would be to move the diesel engine. This comes. Great moments with you guys.
Yeah, I think he's been doing exceptionally well at Harlequins. Been watching some of his rugby, so follow him all over social media. So I think he's looks like he's enjoying it. I don't know how he's Afrikaans in first couple of years, the very Afrikaans farmer boy from Paul, how he did, but it looks like he's enjoying it. So I think it's going to be a big challenge this weekend against him and Joe Marlow on the other side.
Do you think he still answers every question in Afrikaans in his media?
Yes.
He never answered one in English when he played for us.
And he'll wear long pants.
He doesn't own long pants.
If I can't picture of him, something over there.
In terms of expectation, how have you kept that in check all this? Actually, one would feel that coming back from this with those points was a high. Now, how do you keep the expectation in check?
Well, I think that one of the ways was a stark reminder that this it was the knockout nature of this. I showed them the pool, the draws, and the permutations. Either we're at Sandy Park again next week, or we're off. It's a knockout. So I think that's been quite a big grounder. With this dream of hosting European playoff rugby here, it's within our hands to be playing next. Just this one game to get us into, as I say, that there's inarguably the top 8 in Europe and South Africa. So I think that knockout nature is a little bit of a reality. Stephen's right. We haven't had that same pool pressure over the last few weeks that we had last. Do you remember from last year, from a long way out? He's right. We're going to go back into it now because we need 9 points the last 2 games to make sure we got a home semi in the home quarter or home semi if we make it in the URC. So I think that was the one thing. And the second thing is the second way was Harlequins are a good team, and it's one of those guys. You have a look at them, and there's 2 international props, and then you think, it's the England access they were last year in Australia, or have played lots for 8, 9, and 10. And then Andre Esterhuizen was the players' player of the season in the Premiership, So, and then Nick David has been doing extraordinary things from the back, and then the wings have got X factor. So you suddenly realize, this is a proper rugby team who were England champions 2 years ago. So I think those 2 things, a knockout and that Harlequins are a good side of managing expectations.
In terms of the travels back to you guys, Dave said it wasn't that bad, but you still had long travel times. I would think those guys will travel business class down to South Africa. Is that something that we can just take a look at in the future?
No, look, I think look, Steven can speak about. I think this week Dave says, like David said, we're fine. We've actually trained really well. Our numbers are good. I think our challenge could come next week. So over the next 2 weeks. So let's say we are away. Let's say we do win hypothetically, and Exeter win, then we could be getting. Depends what happens. It's all quite complicated. La Rochelle lost a game, but we could be playing in Sandy Park next Saturday or next Sunday. We could play at Sandy Park if I can't remember which one wins. But Sandy Park Sunday to come back here for a Munster game. That's where I think we could find ourselves in a little bit of trouble. I think. How do you feel this week?
At all Sunday.
I think it helped a lot that Friday, it being a Friday game.
Yeah.
I think if we traveled on Sunday night, it would be a lot.
I have a friend who traveled with you guys, and he said it was so awkward. You guys sitting in the seat. Even just for you, it's what 5, 6 games left. You probably not dream that will be over so quickly, but just getting into these last couple of games, is that emotion just coming up every time that you will be running up to?
Yeah, I think it's it's becoming a bit of reality now where, especially spoke about it maybe 6 months ago, and like the whole season was still ahead of us, and we were just going weekend week for week. But now, where there's a handful of games left, and you never know, if you slip up on one, you might lose out on the rest of that competition. So for me, it is becoming a thing where it's do or die. So as important as that URC final was last year, as important as this Harlequins game for me this weekend, because that just extends my lifetime at Stormers. So get a win this weekend, got another opportunity to wear the Stormers jersey, have another win, and then just get as many games as possible still while I'm available for the team. So it is becoming a bit emotional, and driving to the HPC every day, it's definitely going to miss that N1. Luckily driving against traffic, but I'm going to miss that scenery and coming to work every day. So yeah, I'm just excited at the way that this team has performed and matured over the last 2 years, especially in this European competition. So for me, it's just to take that as far as possible while I'm still present, and then hopefully leave the jersey in a better place.
Rocky's one cap behind you, by the way. Right behind you.
And just since spending over from Super Rugby at club level, you were able to play against, and you're now able to play against props from across the globe. Just how different has that helped you develop more in your career? You know, you went over for a bit, but that was only against European clubs. Now you've had Super Rugby, URC, across the board. Just that development and going into the last one.
Yeah, I think rugby has definitely become like a around the globe sport. I mean, you're thinking about, you might be scrumming against, you're playing against an England team, a team from England with an African prop, or you're playing against a French side with a Georgian or a Russian or whatever front rower that you're playing in. So I think that's the amazing thing about rugby. It's become such a global thing where the top 10 nations in the world are all competing for that top spot, and all good enough to compete for that top spot. And you can see it with the club rugby and development. The guys are really pushing hard. And so, yeah, I think just being able to get that experience from playing against any, like a new guy every weekend, or someone I've never even heard of, and then he might teach me a new lesson that I can take forward into my career. It's the amazing thing. It's not repeating itself over and over again.
And speaking about lessons, some of the younger props mentioned that since they've been training with you guys, it's just been so good for them. Carrying over that lessons, how's it for you? What do you do? What do you say that's different to what the coach maybe?
Yeah, I think it's our scrumming sessions do get a bit heated sometimes, and actually willing to work hard, so which is amazing. And then we do sometimes get, like myself and Josie and France scrumming against a Leon and a Sazi and a Finas, and the competition does get quite tough. So the nice thing is the youngsters are very willing to learn, so they always afterwards come and ask questions, review the scrumming session, see where they can improve, and that's how I feel. They almost like a weekly basis, they become better and better. Sometimes there's a slip up or something goes wrong where we just reset the whole process, and we start building from scratch. So just the willingness from the youngsters to keep learning, and we've got a nice big pack of forwards. So there's a lot of rotation, especially when it comes to Curry Cup side. There's a couple of props that can play there. Guys who's good enough to play. Curry Cup is good enough to play for the URC, in my opinion, with the front rows we have here. So it's nice that the guys keep learning from each other, keep pushing. The competition is deep in the team, and they just keep pushing each other's boundaries a bit further.
Just lost your feet. Was that break long enough? Too long?
Yeah. Yeah, it felt a bit too long when I got to the first day of training camp, but I think the break was brilliant, and almost just feels like you re-energized and mentally refreshed. So I think the break came at a perfect time, and especially with the Leinster game from last weekend and now going to the Harlequins, I just felt like that one game is just what I needed to kickstart the engine again. So.
This was about you. Do you feel the training session plus the extra game content last of the Springbok?
Yeah, because I thought our Springbok ours did really well. I think, yeah. Some had probably a bit more rest, but I think the Springbok alignment camps obviously prepared these guys really well physically, because that Leinster game was a proper game of rugby, real intensity. I think the way Kitshoff in France, as we joke about our big diesels, the way they acquitted themselves, and that was brilliant. So, yeah, but there's no question you cannot be off that in this level of rugby. We're going into European knockout 2 months and turn it on overnight. So that's why I was grateful, and it was the right thing to do to take them to Leinster. And hopefully, I think performance-wise, we'll get more this week.
Harlequins haven't had the greatest of season, and possibly surprising given what they had at their disposal. What do you think the reasons are? And do you think of the dangers there that things could just come together for them?
No, that's exactly what the team they are. I saw them put 40 points on Exeter a couple of weeks ago. So where it clicks, they're a high octane. I think they deserve enormous credit for their style of rugby. I don't know if you remember how they won the Premiership a couple of years ago. I think they were 30-0 down against Bristol in the one stage, and then they came back with some just glorious rugby. I think in the English conditions to play the rugby with the bravery they did is amazing, and it clicked in that second half of that final against Exeter. But it is a high-risk game, and I suppose some days it doesn't happen for them. I mean, they were really well positioned in the Premiership a few weeks ago, and I think the last 4 or 5 games have been. I think they've lost 4 of the last 5, other than the Exeter game. But they're a team that if they get fast ball in our conditions and they click, they put you under pressure defensively. So they are one of those teams, high risk, high return. And I say it's very brave, it's out of Southwest London to play that sort of rugby that they play. It's great for rugby. Just hope they don't click.
And looking at the Sharks, Western Province Sharks game from the weekend.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a surprise, given how well the guys played the previous 2 weekends. What is your analysis of that, and how important is it this coming weekend's game against Breakfast for them?
I think we probably at our darkest hour in terms of resource-wise, especially in the backs in the Currie Cup, and I just felt, we just lacked, there's a whole Currie Cup, there's a whole back line out. If you look at Step Ungara, Godwin this week. I know Cade's there, but Cornell Smith's really, who were meant to be the down for the centre. Zasti's out, Angelo Davis is out. Sasha got a knock last week, so he's probably out this week. And we made it, Tristan Lates. We've been really keen, as I said, Zasti takes a wing out to where Suleiman would probably been playing Currie Cup. So that was our plan, was to have this young Currie Cup backline, and they're just all injured at the moment. And I think we lacked, without having JL or experienced guy there in Durban, I think we lacked something there in terms of leadership, and we lacked something in terms of game awareness. Our kicking game was poor. We slowed ball down. It was a really poor performance for us. I say a lot of it was personnel based. I think this weekend will be very tough, just for the same reasons. I say Sasha's out from last week, Godwin's out from last week. So, and we did an arrangement, which is a longer term good at Western's Rugby, Steve, where the Varsities had preference over us over Currie Cup, which is unusual. But there are players that are jointly bursaried and contracted. We made an agreement with the Varsities we wouldn't involve them unless they were until they were finished. And both are playing very important games on Monday afternoon. So that takes out a sort of whole tier of young backline players as well. So this will be our toughest and darkest hour. It's probably not going to determine the Currie Cup. We'll get much better with the Varsities finishing, with the guys coming back from injury. So this will be a really hard game. I think we've lost to Griquas the first time, a few times in a row. Our resources are thin. I think our pack's solid, but we're gonna be tested. But I say we'll be at the sharp end of this tournament.
Stephen, terms of the character of Stormers, I mean, we saw it like against Leinster again, and we saw it against the Sharks, 13 guys, and we saw out the game. Leinster had that rumble, that the Northern Hemisphere teams had in front of big crowds in the region, but you guys came and you managed to pull it out, get that draw. What is it? What creates that? What has created that character in the team? And to what extent is it part of your DNA and identity?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to word what created that character, but I think it's embedded in the oath. Just the way they train, the way they care, the way they talk about rugby. You can see it, like especially in training, when guys there's no need for guys to chase down a player for 50 meters to force him to try and score in the corner. So Gaza, for instance, today.
Yeah.
There's no need for it to happen at training. I mean, if the guy made a line break, then why would you chase him for 50 meters? But I think that character is just inside the guys, and they're willing to work out of their skins for the greater good of the team, see the team succeed. And another thing is, I don't think there's guys who play individual or care about their own game. It's all about the collective. So Marvin, there's guys who it's big leaders and seek certain areas of the game, and they're all just there to serve and make the team better. So all their decisions are based on what will make the Stormers a better team after Saturday's game.
And you guys have done a great job embracing the Northern Hemisphere conditions also, and you seem to be more comfortable.
Yeah, I think getting used to the conditions comes with time. I think when we went over last year for the first time, it's almost like a shock to the system, how cold it is, how wet it is, how windy it gets, smaller stadiums, not very weather protected. So I think the longer South African teams are going to spend in this European competitions, the better our away games are going to become.
Cool, guys. No questions about his lineup still against Leinster.
Your first one,
Third or fourth one.
First?
It's first for the Stormers, but no, a couple before.
Cool, guys. Is anyone on Zoom who's got a question? I don't see any hands. Or are we covered?
Yeah, they did all the questions for us.
Okay. Nice one, Jan. Thanks. Yeah.
Francis earlier being at being out.
Yeah, for a game of that intensity, we actually got off brilliantly. So no, but yeah, just the ribbon is the only unavailability that we have, which is great. So. And then Ruan Nels on a baby, so
He trained today.
trained.
She was born yesterday and he trained today. Yeah. Cool, guys. Thanks so much. Catch you on Saturday.
He slipped the hour.
Except